It's time for Captain Radio.
Well, well, well. If it isn't the defender of the weak, scourge of evil and champion of justice himself.
Hi, I'm Jonny Eberle. I'm the writer/creator of The Adventures of Captain Radio, and I also play Doctor Orban in the podcast.
Hi, Jonny.
Hey, Will. Good to be here.
So, you made the show.
I think it's fair to say that, I created The Adventures of Captain Radio. Came out of here.
Where did you come up with this idea for the show? Like, how long have you been thinking about it? What was the process here?
Yeah, so I think the earliest version of this came about 10 years ago. Will and I, we were making a fake trailer for a movie that never existed. And within that fake trailer were, this was for an Obscure Studios project we did called Black Friday. And within that, there were, these other callbacks to other films that we also never made. So it was like from the people, the studio that brought you, the Captain Radio, the Mutant Mole People from the 11th Dimension. It was like, that's just the most ridiculous, long-winded, like crazy, just trying to think of something that felt, it was a joke, right? It came up as a joke. But it was a joke that wouldn't die. And it just kept being not just funny to me, but interesting of like, okay, if you were to actually make this thing, what would that even be? Like, what is Captain Radio and the Mutant Mole People from the 11th Dimension? And what world does that even exist from? And so then it flash forward to 2020. We're deep into the pandemic. I'm at home all day, every day. I need something to just relieve both the boredom and the fear and the anxiety. And I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm listening to podcasts all day, every day, and it's a fantastic way of finding some escape. It's a wonderfully imaginative medium. You can do anything in podcasts, right? You don't have to have sets, makeup, special effects. It's all in your ears. Like it's the purest form of storytelling aside from like the written word. So that's when it came back to me. Something's like, what we could do with this crazy old idea that we had. Pause for my daughter. She likes to talk when other people talk. Can you hear that?
I think that brings up a good point. You've been doing this whole thing whilst you just had a baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was terrible timing, honestly. But yeah, so my wife and I had a baby last fall, and that was right about the time we were getting very serious about this project, finishing up scripts. You were helping, you did a lot of the legwork in recruiting the actors, the musicians, the artwork, getting all that together, and then there was a baby, and that could have put everything on the back burner, as it everything often does. But honestly, it was just more motivation for me to try to get the project done. And so a lot of the writing happened. The final writing, those last drafts of the last couple of episodes happened at 3, 4 in the morning while I've got, a 1-month-old squirming in my arms. And they're like, please go to sleep. So I've got her over here and I've got my phone over here. I'm typing with my thumb, it's kind of as quickly as autocorrect will allow me to go. So I'm amazed that we got it done at all.
It's just incredible to me. Like, what was the best part about it for you? Like, what was the thing that you enjoyed the most about it?
Yeah, it certainly was. Mostly came up with the idea of, I didn't want to ask too much of other people because I knew it's a side project for everybody. Like no one's getting paid to do this. This is a labor of love. And I also wanted to kind of test myself and see what I could do. I've come out of a film background with limited experience in pure audio editing, and I wanted to teach myself. So I wanted to see what I could do. Honestly, the sound effects were probably the most fun of, I'd write a thing and say, okay, and then later be like, okay, how do I do a laser? I don't have a ray gun. How am I going to make that sound? And that's, those little like plastic pillows of air that they put in as packaging for like Amazon packages. Those little things you can pop them, and that the sound of a laser blast is a pop of one of those run through like a bunch of weird filters in Audacity to make it sound, go from poof to pew, So like that's one thing. And then a lot of the other sound effects are things from around my house. There's chapter 3 has the bells tolling in the distance. That's a wine glass that I hit and then shook around, and then again pass through some like filters to make it sound funny. Like, there's that episode has a lot of wind in it, which is literally me doing this for like 3 minutes. My dog makes an appearance in chapter 4 as a space whale. So it was really fun to come up with a thing and then reverse engineer a sound to figure out how to make it.
Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts. I listened, like you said, when the pandemic hit, we all started listening to a lot of podcasts and things like that. And what I really enjoy, what you've done with this show in particular, is that it is so interactive. When I talk to people, they're like, I love the fact that I can hear the doors opening and I hear the walking and I hear the running. Like, it is immersive. And I think that is a huge step that makes it unique. And it just shows the dedication, honestly, of what you've been doing. Could you give me some background on what is Obscure Studios? What
Sure. Yeah, so Obscure Studios is a production company. Originally, we used to call it a film studio back when we only did film. A production company that I started in high school around this idea of making a film that a couple buddies of mine were putting together, wanting to make a musical. And like so many of our projects, especially our early projects, it never happened. The film was never made, but the production company lived on, and it did. We did some filming for community theater. We did a couple, smattering of weddings, videography, but mostly it was short films. Our big breakout was in 2008 into 2009, our web series called Riley's Dorm, which was an unscripted improv comedy, single webcam style, like video blog entries at a fake university. And we dragged all of our friends. Will was in it. Pretty much everyone we knew at some point was in the show, playing some wild version of themselves. And that was really fun. And so I think that opened the door to a lot of other projects. And so we've had a lot of short films since then. But this is our first step into audio drama.
You're the writer, but you're also Doctor Orban. How did you get into character with this? What was your process for that?
Yeah, the great thing about writing a podcast yourself is that you get to cast yourself as whatever you want. And I knew going into this, like, okay, I want Will to be the hero because he plays them so well. And I was like, well, then I have to be the villain. Like, it's a role I've never really been able to play. It's a role that sounds fun. And so honestly, stepping into the role of Dr. Orban was, living out all of the kind of, weird fantasies of wanting to kind of be a mad scientist someday. And like, what it would be kind of fun is to just to let loose and be pure evil, but evil with a purpose. He's got a motivation. So a lot of getting into character involved, some deep thinking into the dark motivations that I had, because every villain thinks they're the hero of the story. So you have to put yourself in the mindset of like, no, what I'm doing is justified, and this is why, and then the rest of it was really just trying to be as best as I could Jafar from Aladdin. What I think is my clearest inspiration.
Were you doing this recording in this room, the one that we're looking at right now?
Sometimes. This room has a lot. I learned quickly this room has a lot of reflections. It's a lot of hard surfaces. So I have a blanket that occasionally I will drape over this desk that I'm at. But honestly, the best recording I did was under that blanket on the floor over there, just sitting cross-legged on the ground. That was the best sort of, you're trying to create this environment where there's no echo, and that was the best way to do it, honestly. And I know a lot of podcasters do the same sort of thing. Like they're under bed sheets, they're in like closets, like soft spaces with lots of things to muffle the sound.
Yeah, I spoke to some people, and they like you said, they're literally in a closet just trying to do that. And I'm curious, as going back from you're the actor and things like that, and then you're getting all of our audio, which is just like, some people have this microphone, some people have their phone that they're using or whatever? What was that? Had to be really challenging. How was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the hard thing is right trying to make it sound cohesive when you're getting people at recording all kinds of different environments with all kinds of different equipment. Some people are sending me not mono tracks, some people are sending me stereo tracks. Some people are clearly in an echoey room. Some people have a lot of like pops on the things they're saying. So the first thing was trying to clean up people's audio. My daughter has something to say about that. Is cleaning up audio as best you can, and then trying like little tricks. So you'll notice once everybody's, I don't want to give too much away if you haven't heard the show, but there's a point in episode 5 where all the characters are in one space for the first time, and the thing I added was to add reverb. So I added this reverberation to every single track, the same amount. So it sounds like we're all in the same room, one big cavernous room, and that I think helps a lot kind of sell this idea that we're characters all in one space and not people all around the country recording separately. Because another thing that a lot of audio dramas do is they all record like together. They got on a group call and do it. And we didn't do that. We all recorded separately on our own, hoping that the other actor was going to do the same thing you're doing. Like it was a lot of guesswork, but I think it turned out really well because we have such a talented cast.
When you're deep in those editings and you're recording, you're not getting everyone else's audio right away. You're not hearing other people. So how did that affect you when you're trying to do various like the scenes that's going on? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean the hardest thing, most people did really well. I'll say that people did really well at if they had a question about a line, they would give me 2 readings sometimes, or some people like Rob has such a good feel for his character that every line he says is perfect. I don't know how he does it, but he is Orion. Whereas and partly that's really good. Partly it's really good acting, partly it's really good casting. Like he was made for this role, and I never had to do anything differently. With other people, I'd record a bunch of lines and I get Abigail's lines as a dramata and say, oh, she's doing something different than what I was doing. I could re-record my lines, which I did a couple of times to kind of reflect her energy. But most of the time it's about timing. It's about the spaces between lines. When is it rapid fire? When is it quick, quick, quick? And when does it feel like something needs to breathe? I'm like, okay, hold on. That was really interesting. I want to let that sink in for a second. Let me add, a quarter of a second pause. And that really made it feel more like a conversation.
Absolutely. Now, I loved how you did that. I don't know. This is a hard question for me, and you may not have an answer for this one. That's okay. Which is your favorite episode or chapter?
Ooh, man. They're all different, right? They all have a kind of a different thing going on. There's something about chapter 2 that I still think is my favorite, and some of it's just it's one of the simpler episodes, right? There's a simple setup, there's a simple like conflict and a simple payoff, but it happens really well, and we benefited from some really great guest stars in that episode. We have a lot of guest actors who come in, but we had some guest musicians do some really fantastic music that I think it sells it, and that's the episode that I feel like the world kind of comes together, and I realize, okay, here's where we are. Here's what this kind of here's the rules of this world. Here are the sort of things you can encounter out there in space, in the world of Captain Radio that you'd never get in. This wouldn't happen in Star Trek or Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica. This is its own universe, and so that's my favorite from that standpoint.
What do you do outside of Obscure Studios?
Yeah, so I mean, as it's probably not surprising based on all the writing I do for Obscure Studios, I am also a writer. So I have a website, jweberle.com. I write a lot of short fiction, unsurprisingly, a lot of science fiction, a lot of historical fiction. I'm currently working on wrapping up a draft of a novel that I also started while having a small child, having just been born, which was a crazy idea. Working on a novel about the Las Vegas mob that I'm really excited about, and we'll soon be heading into revisions for. So I have lots of projects coming up. None of them move quickly, but I think that's part of that's the life phase that I'm in, and part of it's that I think when we slow down, we can focus on the quality, and So I don't know if there's going to be an Obscure Studios project that comes out soon, but whatever comes out will be absolutely worth the wait.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to get some writing done. You're going to get some writing done. We're going to start creating. We're going to start pumping some stuff out. So I think it's important that everyone keep in contact. Where can they find us, Obscure Studios? Where's a good place for this?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to go is always our website. It's obscurestudios.net. You can find Obscure Studios on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, because of course we have a lot of film work on there. Yeah, lots of places, and I'm sure maybe we'll get on TikTok. Who knows? There's places you might find us, but look for Obscure Studios in all the usual spots.
On the dark alley, under the trash can. Who knows? We could be anywhere.
Yep, we're in the backseat of your car late at night.
That's where we are.
Don't worry about it.
Well,
where are we? We're between the bananas and the apple cider in your local grocery store. You'll find us there.
Absolutely. That's where we are. Well, thank you for this. I'm excited to see what everything else goes. I'm excited for upcoming projects, and I can't wait for it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Will. Good talking to you.
Thank you. Be sure to check out the adventures of Captain Radio on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. In the meantime, you can go like and follow Obscure Studios on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or head over to our website at obscurestudios.net.